Hello everybody, hope you're doing fine. This is John again from IT Skills Academy with yet another video. And in today's video, I'll be showing you how you can be able to create a pagination using PHP and MySQL. The reason as to why I'm creating this video is because I've received an email from one of my followers on YouTube. I hope I'm mentioning his name properly. That is Sid T, S-I-D, capital T. He wanted me to help him to understand how he can be able to create a pagination, I hope using PHP and MySQL. And I just told myself, instead of just showing him personally, why don't I just create a video and upload it on this channel so that everybody who is in need of the same can be able to get the help. And so without so much ado, let's get started with this specific video. So as you can see on your screen, currently we have this table. It has the medicine name, stock available, price, expired date, and action as the column headings. And then within the body or in the rows, we have the medicine names, the stock available, the price, and also the expired date as well. And of course we have the action button there, and below that we have now the pagination. It has the previous button, it has now the various pages 1, 2 to 5. And if I click on the first page, we're now going to be taken to that very first page, and now the previous button will just disappear. I can get to page 2. So you're going to see the names of the drugs change here as I move to the various pages. Yeah, like that. And I can also be able to go to the next instead of using the numbers. I guess previous, and of course now it will just be getting to the previous page as I click. Of course I can also be able to use the next to move to the other direction, just like that. So simply that is the basic pagination that we have here, and that I'll be showing you how you can be able to create it in this video. And so without so much ado, let's get this started now, shall we? Yeah, one last thing that I would like to mention before we continue with this video is that the data that you can see here is dynamic, and we are getting it from a database. And I would like to first of all show you that before we continue with the video. So I'm just going to the localhost here, and then see I'm currently in the database. In the database I've named pharmacy, and I'm in the specific table that I've named the store. And this way we are able to see this data. So you can see we have this medicine name, and I'm just pulling a few columns from this table. As you can see, it has several columns, but I'm just interested with just a few columns, which I'm just pulling out in this specific page that I've just showcased in this case. Yeah, having mentioned that, I think it's the high time now that we start this. So I've now prepared a separate page here. So this is a static page. It only has one drug here, and this is not coming from the database, because I would like to start there from how you can be able to pull data from the database to now how you can be able now to create the pagination below here. So we'll be starting everything as from this specific point. So this is a simple table that has been created using Tailwind CSS, and in fact I've been creating several Tailwind CSS tutorials. So if you're interested to learn how to go about Tailwind CSS, I would recommend you to get to my channel, and you're going to see several videos or tutorials talking about Tailwind CSS, as from a crash course to even creating landing pages and all that. Okay, so that having been said, now we can get started with this. So I'm just going to go to my favorite text editor here, and this is Visual Studio. So I have named this page, I've named my project folder page tutorial, and currently I'm on the index.php, and basically this is the table that we can be able to see on this specific page here. And so now we are now going to add the code that will help us to be able to get the pagination. And first of all, we are going to start with pulling out the editor. Okay, so before we start with the coding, I would also like to show you something else here that I have prepared off the camera, so that you're not lost in between. So when I get to my project folder here, which I've said I've called it page_tutorial, and then I go to includes, I get to the includes folder. Inside here I'm going to see the con.php, and basically this is just the script that will help us to connect to the MySQL database. As you can see here, we have the parameters to connect to the database, and these are the parameters, and we just now connecting to the database here. So this basically now will help us to be able to pull the data from the database and now have it displayed on our browser. So I think having mentioned that, now we are on the same page and we can now start the coding. Well, now to get started, I'm going to have PHP allowed the body of my table. So I'm just going to come on top here, and maybe just to have things clear, I can just come and hide this tr, yes, so that we can be able to clearly see everything. And I'm just going to come and remove this white space. So right, so our PHP now will be allowed this specific area here. So I'm just going to come on top here and have the PHP opening tag, and of course I'm also going to come and close it there. So the first thing, as I've mentioned, is to be able to pull this data from the database and display it on our browser. So to be able to do that, first of all, I'm going to require the con.php. So remember, this is the page that contains the script that will help us to connect to the database. So I'm just going to come and say require, and this is in a folder I've called includes. Yeah, and I'm just going to come and refer to it, that is con.php. Yeah, so just like that, now we're able to connect to the database. And of course, now down here we're going to have the select query. So SQL, and so here I'll say select, sorry, it should be select, and I'm selecting this from the store. Remember that database that I've just shown you. So we are selecting the information from the store, and for now we can just leave it at that point, but we'll be coming back to it in a few. So let's just leave it at that point for now. And so here I'm just going to come and create a variable called results, and I'm just going to set that to be equal to MySQLi underscore query. And here the parameters that I will pass is the con and the SQL. Okay, so now having done that, now we want to check if there are any records in the database. So in fact, I can just have that comment here. Check if there are any records in the database. And how we are going to check if we have any results in the database, of course we are going to use the if statement. So I'm just going to come and say if, and I'm going to say and the condition will be if the variable results is equal true. So if we are able to get the results, if we're able to see anything coming from the database, then what we are going to do is we are first of all going to count how many records we have in the database. So MySQLi underscore low, sorry, it should be underscore num underscore lows. Yeah, because basically we want to just count the number of rows that we are getting from this specific table that I've called a store. And now the next thing that we now want to do is to have yet another if statement. So this is a nested if statement. So now we want to now see if we have any records, and how we are going to do that is that we're going to come and say the variable count, if it is greater than 0, if the number of rows that we have from the store table is greater than 0, then we'll assume that we have some records. So remember, this line will help us to count the number of rows that we are getting from the store table, and it is storing the results in this specific variable here. And so now by having that variable here and testing to see if it is greater than 0, we can now be able to tell if we have any records or we don't. So so if we have some records, we're going to have some code here, and if we don't have, then we can just come here and say else, and we can say no records available or something. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like that because I'm not interested with that for now. But you can just come and echo something else if if this is false, if this is like less than 0, like we don't have any records in the database. So I'm just going to assume that we have some records, which we currently do. And so now what I'll just do is that I'm just going to create a loop, and that will be the while loop. And so now I'm just going to come and get rid of everything within the parentheses here, so that I can put my own data. And so now within this parentheses, I'm just going to come and have my SQLi fetch a sock. So I'm going to come and store the results of that in a variable called rows. So I'm just going to come and say rows is equals to MySQLi underscore fetch underscore a sock. And of course I'm also going to come and have the variable res inside here, the variable results. So this will now help me to fetch the data from the database with the help of this right here. And so now inside now the while loop, we are now going to have the various columns that we want to fetch from the database. Remember, as I have just shown you, we're just pulling a few records from this specific table. So we're just pulling the medicine name, the quantity, the expiry date, and the price, and that's all. Although we have various other columns that we can fetch, but in this case we're just interested with just a few because we just want to showcase how the pagination works. So getting rid of this code or this line here, so here I'm just going to come and have the variables medicine name, and for this I can call it any name, but for the name of the column or the row that I want, I have to give it that specific name that I have in the database. So I'm just going to come and say is equals to rows, and I can now come and pull out that specific row that I want. So in this case I have to come and say medicine and name, which is the row of the which is the row that contains the data that I want. So in this case now what it will do is that basically it will just come and pick these records. Okay, so that's done there, and because I want a few of these, maybe I can just duplicate it and change the column names. So I'm just going to add that with a semicolon there, and now I can highlight these and duplicate it. So we have the medicine quantity, we have the price, and we have the expiry date. So now I can simply just come and change this So from a medicine name I can call it a quantity. So the same case to this one. So this is the name that we have in the database. Also this one as well for the price. And lastly we have the one for the expiry date. So yeah, so just like that. And so okay, now just below that, now I'm just going to come and have the closing PHP tag. This is because now I want to come and embed the HTML, and I cannot have the HTML code within PHP. So what I can do is that I can just come and close the PHP tag that I had opened here, and I'm just going to come and now open yet another one. So I'm going to come and do like this, and now it is within this that I'm going to have now the HTML, and now I'm going to have these three below there. So in fact now what I can do, if this allows me, is I'm just going to come and cut all of this and have it now inside here. So that's basically how you can be able to embed HTML code within PHP. Yeah, so just fixing a few issues there that has to do with HTML though. Alright, so if we now check our page here, we should be able to see some changes. Let's see if I refresh this now. And now we are not seeing anything. In fact, everything disappears there. So let's see what the issue could be in our code here. Yeah, so we forgot to have the select all here, and the way we say select all is we just put an asterisk here. Yeah, so that means now we are selecting all from the database, and as you can now see, we are able to see these records here. Remember, it has just like mimicked the number of columns that we have in the database, and of course this is not the data that we have in the database, but it is just representing the number of records that we have in the table, that is the store table. So the 15 of them is what we can be able to see here. And so now from here it is very easy, because we're now just going to come and change this so that it reflects what we have in the database. But this is a good sign that we are able to see or we're able to connect to this database and communicate with it. And now what we just want to do is to change this data. So we're just going to do that very quickly, and it is something that is very easy. Now that we have the information already, all that we need to do is to display it. Remember, the information is already stored in these specific variables from this MySQL fetch sock. And so now for me to be able to get the drug name or the medicine name, I can just come and have the PHP opening and closing tags here, like so. And I can just come and say echo, and I will be echoing the medicine underscore name. And of course, if we check that now, just refresh the page, and we're going to see now the drugs change. As you can see, drug sample test, cetirizine 2, paracetamol, and that's what we have here, drug test, paracetamol, and all that. So now we can do the same to the rest of the columns here, so that they reflect what we have in the database. So getting this, I'm just copying this so that we can save some time here. Finally, if we refresh this page, we're able to see now the records there. So now what we want to do now is to be able to split them. In this case, I just splitted them into two, so that now we can be able to create these pages. Now remember, what we have here is that we have all the records in one page, and sometimes this may not be what you want. You may want maybe something simple like this, and someone will just be moving to the various pages, which is the purpose of pagination. So that is its role, just like splitting your data into pages. Okay, so now we start implementing the pagination, and so just before the SQL select query, we're going to create an if statement here. And so I'm just going to come and say if, and what we want to do is we want to get the pages here, or create the pages that we want. So I'm just going to create an if statement, and the condition first of all will be if it's set. Remember, we'll be creating the specific buttons or numbers to get to a specific page. So these are the code that will help us to get to that specific page. It is the one that will detect whether we have clicked a specific page number, so that we are taken to that specific page. So if it's set, and here we're going to use the get. So get, and what we'll be getting in this case is the specific page. And of course this one should be in single quotes. Sorry for that. So basically I can just highlight it like so and have it in quote like that. So basically now, as I've mentioned, what this one will do is that it will help us to be able to get to that specific page. If I can just show you that. So if I point at this and then I click on it, you can see I'm taken to that page 2. If I click on this, I'm taken to page 3, and it is itself a link, as you can see now below there. So this is what we are now trying to implement right now on top here with this if statement. So now within the body of that if statement, what we are just going to do is we're just going to create a variable and call it page, and we're just going to set that to be equal to the get, and we'll be basically getting the page. So I'm just going to come and have the square brackets, the single quotes, and then here I'm just going to come and put the page. Sorry, I hope this one should be in small letters like that. Yeah, so I've basically just created a variable that will be storing the page that we have gotten from this specific script on top here. So this is like it will be listening which button is clicked, and then it will be storing that in this specific variable here. And so now we are now going to come and now say else. If that does not happen, we are again going to create a variable and call it page, and we'll store that to be equal to 1. So it's like by default we are just having all this information. We're having the page number 1 being the default page. When you get to this specific website or web page, so number 1 will be the default page that you're going to see. Otherwise, now when you start clicking, it will now be getting to the specific page numbers that you have clicked. But by default, when you get there, this will be the page that you're going to see. But now you can navigate by just clicking, and moving to the various pages. Okay, so hoping that that is clear now, we can move forward to the next thing. And now the next thing that we want to do is we want to determine how many records will be shown in a page. We've already mentioned that by default we'll be seeing a page number 1, but how many pages or how many records should we see in that specific page? yeah, like you can see in this specific case, I have only 2 records showing, and if I move to the next one, still I'll see 2 records. If I move to the next one, still I see the 2 records. Okay, so now what I'm just going to do is I'll create a variable, and I'm just going to call it a number per page. You can give it any name, number per page, and I'm just going to come and say the number of records that I want. I can just maybe say 3 in this case, just to make it a little bit different. And we're also going to create another variable, so this one will again state where we should start from. So we can even just call it start from, and we can set that to be equal to, into parentheses, the page 1, and we are just going to have that multiplied by 3. So basically the number of pages that you have included here should also be what you're just going to multiply this with down here. Yeah, and that's it with that specific part there. Let's try to get to our page here and refresh and see if we have any change. So right now we don't have any change because we still need to do one more thing. So that is, as I had mentioned earlier, we'll be coming back to this select statement, and now based on this we can be able to come and limit the number of records that we are going to have. And so I can just come and say limit, and I'm just going to limit that based on this variable that we have here, which gives us the number of records that should be in a specific page. So I can just come and say start underscore from, and also I should also come and filter it or limit it using this variable number per page. So we've just limited the record that we're going to showcase based on these values that we have here. So let's now refresh and see, and now as you can see we are able now to just see 3 records, just like we have stated here. So if I come and change this to 4, let's see what will change, or if there's anything that will change to that effect. So I refresh the page, and now we don't see anything. Okay, I don't know why that is not showing that. Maybe still refreshing or something. Let me just have 2 and say refresh. Yeah, 2. Why doesn't 4 work? Let's check. Because basically any number that you put there should work. Yeah, so there you go. So we have the 4 records there. Yeah, but in our case I just want to limit that to 4. So of course the limit will of course be determined by the number of records that you want. Yeah, so yeah, you can put any value that you want there. So now that we have the records now there, we want to have some links down here, which is now the pagination that will now help us to go to the other pages, because by now what we're just seeing is the first page just showing the records, but still we want to see the other records. So we need now to have the pagination here that will help us now to move to the other records. So to be able to do that, now we're just going to go below the table. So scroll down below the table here, and now what we're going to do here is maybe I can even have a comment here, and I can talk of pagination. Yeah, so now this is where we are going to have our pagination now. So this is the sole purpose of this video, but still we had to build it up so that everyone can understand the whole process. So now I'm just going to come and first of all create a div here. Yeah, because basically we're just creating the pagination section. First of all, I would like to style this specific div. So I'm just going to come and have a class here, and basically here I just want to determine the width of this specific pagination. So I can just talk of call md, and for the margin bottom I can talk of 3, and here we should say that we want at least 6 columns, so just like we are having that divided by 2. Okay, so and now inside here we are going to have our buttons, and first of all I'm just going to have the next and the previous, and in this case for the href we are going to have it with index, because basically all our pages are in the index.php, and we're also going to have a question mark and talk of page. So we'll be changing this but later, and the next thing that I can also do here is to style our button a little bit. So I can just come and talk of the class, and maybe bg we can talk of primary, so that will be blue. For the padding I'll give it 4. It should be a loaded medium. So this is a tailwind css classes. I can also talk of the spacing between them, so I can say the space in the x-axis, maybe I can talk of 2. I can also talk of the font being bold, and also the color of the text should be white, sorry, and that's it. So be coming back to that in a moment. I should also not forget to have the name previous here, like so. So we'll be coming back to that later to just style things a little bit, and that will be for the previous. It will be the first one, and of course now we want to also have the other one, which will be the next. So it will be styled the same, but now this time loud the name will be different. Okay, so that is the HTML part of it. Let's refresh and see what we got here. So we have the 2 buttons there, and okay, I don't want it to be like this. Okay, this is something that you may also like, but in my case I don't want it to be like that. So let me see what we can do here just to try and fix that. Instead of having this just below the table, we can get it out of that specific container. Let me also get rid of this space here, so we can just have it outside that specific container. So let me just have it there. So it's my hope that that will fix that issue. So let me now refresh that and see what we got. Yeah, so it should be like that. So that's what I want. So now we have the previous and we have the next button here. So now we want now to have the pages inside here. So this will be determined by the number of records that we have, and the number of limitation or the how we have limited the records that we are going to show per page. Okay, so getting back to the pagination here, and so now I'm now going to have some PHP code here. So for that I need to have the PHP opening and closing tags like that. And so now the first thing that we are going to do here is that we're just basically going to create a select query. So I'm just going to come and create a variable. You can give it any name. Sorry, I intend this to be an underscore. So is equals to select all from the store. So we are again selecting the data from the store once more, but we are not going to display it for now like we did in the previous case. So we are now going to have the less here, the results. I'm just having this difference so that it does not like conflict with the previous variable that I've created on top there. So this will be equals to MySQL underscore query. Sorry, this should be query. And of course here we are having the con and the SQL. Yeah, sorry, this should not just be SQL, it should be what we have on top here. Yeah, like so. And so we can have the normal semicolon terminating that there. And finally I'm also going to come and have another variable here. I can call it total underscore records. Sorry for the misspell, sorry for that. So this is equals to MySQL underscore num underscore rows. So basically, like you can see, we just like counted the number of rows that we have in this specific table that we are calling store. And so here we're just going to come and have the results. So that is the PL of the pagination results. Sorry, yeah, so like that. Alright, so we're also going to have yet another variable here. I can just call it total underscore page, and we're just going to come and set this to be equal to sale, and this now will have the parameters total record divided by the number, the num per page. So it is basically dividing the total records, all the records that we have in this table, and dividing that by the number of records that we have stated that we want to display. In our case being 4. If I can just show you that on top here. So in our case being 3, sorry. So in our case being 3, so it is going to take 15 and divide that by 3. Divide that by 3, and those results are going to be stored in this specific variable that we have called total. And so now that we already have the total records, and we already know how many records that we want to display per page, and right now we already know like how many pages that we are going to have, because we already know the total number of records, and so we divide that by the number of pages that we want to, the number of records that we want to display per page, and so this will now give us the total number of pages that we are going to have. This will give us the total number of pages that we are going to have by dividing the total record by the total per page, which is the total records that we should be displaying in a page. And so now after that, now we can basically now come and pick the before that we need to come and have the if statement, so that now we are able now to get the buttons. And so we are now going to come and set this if statement here, and the condition will be if the page is greater than 1. So if the number of pages are more than 1, then we should now start having the previous button. We should have the previous button. And if we don't have more records, like we only have 1 page, then we should not have the previous button. Let me just show you that practically here with the finished project here. Let me say I go to page 1. So when I get to page 1, so it means that we don't have any other page before number 1. So we don't need to showcase the previous button. And also this happens with the next. And the same will happen with the next button. If we are in the last page of our pagination here, then we should not be seeing the next button because we don't have any number next to that. So if I just click on the next here, we are now in page number 6 and we don't have any other page. So now we are hiding the next button here. But if I click on the previous, now we have number 6, and that is what is now being represented by the next button here. So hope that makes sense. So I'm going to get back here, and I'm now going to come and pick this previous one, this previous button, and that's what we are going to come and echo here. So I'm just going to come inside the if statement, and I'm just going to come and say echo, and we want to echo this previous button if we have more than 1 page. So I'm going to come and have the quote there. You should also add that with a semicolon. And now we are going to have our anchor tag now being echoed inside here. Yeah, and so to avoid this, maybe I can have this in single quotes to just try and fix the HTML stuff there. So we can have it as such. Or alternatively, we can also come and, instead of having these in double quotes, we can have them in single quotes. So this is also something else that you can also do, because we cannot have the same similar quotes. So we cannot have this being lapped with double quotes and still we have some double quotes inside here. Okay, so that's it with that part there. And so now inside that, now let me just show you that. So we want now to have these pages here. As you can see, in this we don't have them here. So how are we going to get that? So just below that, below the previous button there, we're going to have a for loop. We're going to have a for loop. So this will now be helping us to increase the number of pages depending on the number of records that we are having. So if the number of records increases, then that will increase the number of pages. So to help us do that, we're going to have the for loop here. So the for. So now for this case, we are just going to come and set I to be equal to 1. So it should start from page 1. And we can also now come and say for the condition, it will be if I is less than we can talk of the total page. And so now it will keep on incrementing that, of course, by the help of this. And so now inside this for loop, now we're just now going to come and echo these numbers here. Remember, they will be incremented from the first page up to the number of records that we have in the records. So if it is 15, then it is going to increment the number of pages here up until the total number of pages. In our case, if I can just show you the database here, we have 15, so it is going to start from 1 and putting into consideration how many records that we want to showcase. In our case, we've said 3, so it's going to count 1, 2 and 3, like that. So it is going to keep on incrementing, so that it knows that if we divide this by 3, how many pages are we going to have, and it is those number of pages that it is going to display here, and they will be in form of numbers. So let me just do that practically so that you guys can understand what I mean. So inside here, I'm just going to come and have an anchor tag here. href is equal to, and so here I'm of course going to have the index index.php page, and I'm going to set this to be equal to in some double quotes the I. So I'm going to just come and have that I, another period. So by just having this, it will help us now to be able to know how many pages that we're going to have. So that is basically what is giving us these numbers that we have here, based on how many records we are showing per page. So like that, and now I'm just going to style that a little bit. So just outside here, I can come and talk of class is equals, and I'm going to have a padding of 4. Yeah, and also because I'm using Tailwind CSS, I can talk of space in the x-axis being 2. So we just spacing the numbers so that they're not too close to each other. And now, of course, now we need to echo some information here, and so now what we're going to have here is the variable I. So that will help us to have that, but still now we want to have the next button. We want to also show this next button, as it can be seen here. So it will not always be shown, as we have seen. It will only be shown if we have a page next to the page that we have. But if we are in the very last page, which means we don't have any page next, then it should not be shown. So to be able to implement that, we're going to have the if statement here, and so we're going to say that if I is greater than the page, and here we should have this as a variable. So remember, we created this variable on top there. So if I, which is this, is greater than the page, like we are in the very last page, that's what this means, then we should oh, sorry for that. So basically what this means is that if we are in the very first page, that means we have another next page. Yeah, like for instance, if I can just show you that, like in the situation that we are in right now. So we are in page 1, but still we have page 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we should still be seeing this next button until we no longer have any other page. So if I can maybe just move you to page 6 here, Yeah, so like that. So this is the only scenario where we should not have the next button, but as long as we have some other pages here, we should always be showing the next button. So sorry for that. That is what this means, because it's talking of if I is greater than the page. So inside here now, we should now echo this next. So just going to come here and talk of echo, and let me just have this in single quotes for this one. So now that should be working for us. We already have the number of pages being echoed here using the for loop, because we want them to be looping based on the number of records that we have. And also we have now the next button, which should be shown just in case we have a page next to the current page that we have, and the previous button we have it here. It should again be shown if we have a page previous to the current page where we are. Okay, so hoping that makes sense. We can try to check and see if that is working for us. So this one here, so I can refresh that. Yeah, and we have a problem somewhere. Oh sorry, this is just a simple but silly error here. So this one should be MySQL. Where is that? Sorry, let me check that. It should be on page 128. Oh sorry, we missed the Q here. Yeah, so we do have that there. So if I click on the next, we still have a problem. Let me check what that could be. Oh sorry, there is something else that we still haven't implemented here, and that is very important. So it should be somewhere here. Yeah, so there is one more thing that is missing here, and that's why our code is not working. And I think this is one of the best ways to run, yeah, by of course making these simple mistakes. And of course this in my case I've just forgotten it here. So I'm just going to come and say this is equal to, and here I'm going to come and put the variable page. So page, and this will be 1. So just like that. And we should also have this in the next button as well. So I can also come and grab that and have it here as well. So is equals like that. But now for this case it will be a plus. Yeah, because this one will be taking us to the next page. So what it will do is that it will keep on adding the pages so that it takes us to the next page. So if we are in page 2 and we want to go to page 3, so it will be 2 plus 1 to go to page 3. If you're in page 3, we want to go to page 4, so it will be 3 plus 1, so we go to page 4. And the same now happens with this one here. I don't know what is happening here. This one should be a different case. Okay, I think I need to change these all together, maybe. Yeah, there's an issue of these double quotes here. So let me just have all of them in double quotes, just like we have with this one here. So this one to be a single quote, this one to be a single quote as well, single quote, a single quote, like that. This one should be a double quote, while this one should be a single quote. Yes, like that. Okay, so now I was just explaining this, that this now will be the reverse of this. So now if you want to go to the previous page, it will just be subtracting the current page minus 1, the current page minus 1. So if you're in page 3, and we want to go to the previous one, then it will be 3 minus 1 takes us to page 2. When we are in page 2, we want to go to the previous one, it will now be 2 minus 1, so we are taken in the first page. So let's hope that fixes that problem. Oh, sorry. Oh, one more problem. Oh, these problems seems never to be ending. Yeah, so one more thing here is we should have this in brackets. Yes, and I'm not editing this at all because I would like us to be able to learn from these mistakes, so that if and when you make the same mistakes on your end, you're able to see how you should be able to fix it, and also see that you're not the only one who is making these mistakes. So even professionals, people who have been coding for years, will also make these simple but very critical mistakes that will cause your code not to work. Okay, so and now as you can see, we are able to see the numbers here. So it is 15 divided by 3, and so now as you can see, we have a beautiful pagination here. So you go to the previous, we are going to number 2, we go to the previous, we are now in number 1. As you can see right now, it is even somehow highlighted. So if I go to page 2 again, now I go to page 2, and I can also use the next button, which should take me to page 3 as well. Yeah, so we have it like that. And also remember, you can also be able to alter the number of records that you want to showcase. Maybe we can have it with 2, what we have in our main project, finished project, and if I now refresh that, we should only see 2 records like that. And now you can see we have pages 1 to 6. We are currently in number 3. So if you go to the previous, it should go to number 2. If we correct the previous, goes to number 1, like that, like so. So that's basically how you can be able to create a pagination using PHP and MySQL. So I'll be providing this source code. I'll find the link in the description of this specific video if you may want just to download this and use it to learn to create your own specific pagination. So hope the video was helpful. If it was, kindly destroy that subscribe button, share it with your friends, and of course don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you're notified every time I create a new video. And also feel free to request for any video that has to do with PHP, MySQL, and Tailwind CSS, because that's what I'm focusing on right now, and I'll be more than ready to help. As usual, see you in the next one. Bye.